Opening of the meeting, announcement, adequate notice of meeting. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press on April 18, 2019, and it's been duly advertised in the Asbury Park Press issue of April 22nd, 2019. All municipal clerks of the townships and boroughs within the regional high school district have been duly notified of the requirements of posting of notices and have been met on April 18th, 2019. Can everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Toscano,
Yes.
are there any changes to the executive agenda that you wish to note?
Yes. Just make it perfectly clear. In addition to the items that were listed on the executive session agenda that was available, the board also discussed the following items in box number 7. The board discussed settlement agreements in the following matters: 2019-293-374, 219-29622, 219-29230, 219-36900, and 2019-36910. The board also discussed a threatened matter involving student discipline and special education.
Thank you, Mr. Toscano. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 22nd, 2019?
Motion.
Motion by Pete,
Second.
second by Mrs. Capiello, am I right? Yes? Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please, Sean?
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Capiello?
Yes.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Mrs. Terra?
Yes.
Mr. Estes?
Yes. Communications are on file in the office of the board secretary. Now I'd like to yield the floor to the superintendent for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Acetola. So a couple items to open with. Obviously, the start of the new school year is rapidly approaching. This week we have our new staff orientation. That's Thursday and Friday. Consists of a couple days. I open that every year with about a 45-minute or so overview of general expectations for faculty and staff in the district here as it relates to teaching and learning, and it's largely a continuation of the conversation that was begun in June when we have our new faculty welcome reception for those folks. So there's some continuity there. And then the new teachers are trained in the evaluation model here and the district processes and so on. So that's underway this week. Last week, our academic supervisors returned. Curriculum instruction led them through throughout the course of the week, working on various projects related to specific academic disciplines and larger goals, district goals, and building academic goals. Our summer programs have all concluded. A real success this year, and I said this at the last meeting, but not sure if people understand the scope of what we do over the summer here. So between our original credit courses, which are expansive in their offerings, our advanced placement summer bridge program, which is for students who are aspiring to take an AP course or an honors course for the first time, our credit recovery that we offer for students who need that assistance, our extended school year for students with special needs, our Title I program at Freehold Township, and then new this year was our college application boot camp, which was a huge success. We had of the 226 students that had signed up for that, almost 200 of them actually completed the multi-day event, which consisted of an opening ceremony for parents where there was some conversation with college admissions counselors, financial aid, time to really work on their college essay, which feedback from our students across the district have told us that when they come into their senior year, those first couple months are really a stressful time for them because they have their academic load, they have their extracurricular load, they're trying to get their college applications in order oftentimes. And so we wanted to make sure that we put together a program that allows them to get a jump start on that process with structured guidance. And so that was a very successful program as well. So hundreds of students in the hallways over the course of the summer, which I'm proud of. Last week, Mr. Boyce and I, along with Mr. LaGraveness, conducted our final district walkthrough. So one of the things that we do every school year prior to the opening of the school season, we walk all the 6 high schools. We tour all of the work that was done over the course of the summer, the projects that are underway, walk through the buildings and check out what everything looks like, walk with the principals as well and the building maintenance supervisors and custodial supervisors. And I have to say, I put a lot of pictures out on social media. The hallways look like glass. The guys and gals in our facilities department take such pride in their work, and they are so incredibly proud to show off what has happened over the course of the summer. So that's always a terrific day. So hats off to you, Pat. And it was an awesome day. And you get to hear from the folks in the buildings who spent all summer working on these projects and what that looks like. So I was really proud of what I saw. And I think that the cleanliness of our buildings is second to none. And when you look at the scope of what we've done that with in terms of financially, dwindling resources compared to what it was several years ago, but still the same level of work. And I'm really proud of that. A couple items on the referendum and to update the board and to begin to move forward on the process of the referendum, which is known as Ensuring Excellence, which is slated for Election Day, November 5th. As I've mentioned previously, we have regenerated the questions into 3 rather than 1. And there's an awful lot of work that is going into educating our community about not just the referendum, but where the referendum is situated within the larger financial picture of the school system. And so the building principals have all developed a critical communicators list. And so that entails, obviously, all of the local municipal officials, the local police chief and their folks, the leaders of the K-8 PTOs and our own PTOs, rec department heads, booster club heads. We are sending a mailing to the entire community. Every registered voter will get a placard explaining the referendum and what that looks like. We have obviously developed a website that clearly articulates the major tenets of the referendum. We have created an alumni list of graduates, of eligible voters that we're reaching out to. We've utilized social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All information has gone out. We have about 50 lawn signs that will be going up in the coming month. We are scheduling meetings presently with all the municipal officials throughout September and October, and the board members will certainly be invited to those meetings. I've written a letter to all local officials and multiple sort of mailings to all the elected officials in the area, both from our financial perspective, whether that's a briefing packet as well as an update on the referendum itself. We have a number of video segments that are forthcoming, sort of did you know videos about the referendum. I'll be sure to brush my teeth really well on those days and smile for the camera. But I think, so every possible avenue that we can hopefully reach folks with the information about the referendum, and more importantly about the context of the larger financial situation, which is this. So Next Tuesday, we have Convocation, and that's typically the day, that will be my 9th Convocation. I address the staff. The entire staff comes together. That's the only time all year that the entire staff comes together. And it's a really important time, as far as I see it, for the folks in the district to hear directly from me about the vision of the district, about what's happening in the district and where we're headed. And, you know, it's usually, it's always an inspirational message, you hope, right? And so this year, developing that theme that is grounded in the reality of the financial situation, while still maintaining our aspirational motif is a difficult one to develop. And, you know, Mr. Boyce and I sat down today and we laid out the budgeting schematic over, you know, the next several years. And the state has traditionally funded us with somewhere around $51 million in state aid. And by the end of this thread, when it's pulled, it's down to $18 million. And so the gap between 18 million and 51 million is what the state's basically saying is we're undertaxing our community by $30 million here, which is ridiculous, right? The difficulty in all of that is there's a 2% cap on the tax levy. So even if we want to tax as much as is available to us, the gap over the next 4 or 5 years is significant. It's a financial tsunami. The referendum is about $41.7 million, and in particular, a huge chunk of that work has to be done over the next couple of years, no matter what. Roofing, paving, tennis courts, things of that nature. So if you couple that should highlight the significance of the referendum for everybody, because if you couple that work not being completed with the reduction from $51 million in state aid, which was stable. By the way, it's been $50 or $51 million for 9 years, to give perspective, dwindling down to $18 million. That should, for anybody who lives within the district, not just has kids in the district, but lives within the district, for the property values that are tied to these schools, that should be a resounding alarm about why it's important to educate yourself about the referendum, the larger financial picture, to reach out to local legislators who can help stem this tide and alter this course, and to take action. You know, and the first and most important action is just to understand the context of the referendum and go vote one way or the other, right? Like, go out and exercise your right to vote. But then secondly, to contact local legislators about what's happening here financially. I guarantee you this, the second next year that we really start cutting busing and cutting staff and parents are inconvenienced and little Johnny's coming out of his front door and he's not walking 0.2 of a mile, but he's walking 0.8 of a mile to get to the bus stop, and it's 6:30 in the morning, that's going to be a hard pill for parents to swallow. But that's what we're going to be up against if we don't alter this tide. So my convocation will be partly educational. Part of it will be really asking that the faculty and staff that live within our geographic footprint take ownership of this, because we all have to. It can't just come from us saying the importance over and over again. We all have to own it. We all live here. We all work here. And then hopefully, you know, the theme, of course, of the year is finding opportunity in adversity, right? Like, how could it not be? You know, I'm looking forward to delivering that message, but it's a difficult message to deliver. So, you know, I do want the board to know, though, that as we begin to look at potential dates to schedule meetings, the board members will certainly be invited to attend those meetings. And I'm asking my principals, who I'm meeting with on Thursday, as they meet with other groups, if board members want to sit in on any of those meetings, they're more than welcome to as well. And that's a lot of the larger community groups that are out there that we might be meeting with over the next couple of months. We are awaiting the final, what's known as PECs from the state. We anticipate that we'll receive those this week. We're going to advertise for a special board meeting to take place on Tuesday, September 3rd, for the board to take action on that once we receive that. Once we receive that information from the state, we will know exactly what percentage of this larger project, the Ensuring Excellence project, is subject to state aid, right? And we, you know, last time when we put it out, it was almost 30% of the project was covered by the state. So when you couple that factor, so think even deeper on this, right? Millions of dollars in paving, infrastructure, things of that nature, with an opportunity for the state to pay anywhere between 25 and 30% of that cost with passage of the referendum. You take that out of the equation, then you have the full cost of whatever that's going to be, no matter what, compounding the impact with the reductions across the district. So it's a difficult position. You know, I think we're well positioned to deal with it, to address it. It's a reality. We have been advocating ad nauseum for multiple years over this, and not much has changed. We did get additional extraordinary aid, which was a nice bump, but a very small ripple in the larger context of what we're talking about in terms of the multi-million-dollar reduction in state aid. That concludes my report, Mr. Estes.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Yes.
I go on the website every day, and so this English fact teacher of the year, she was honored by the Monmouth County Board of Freeholders.
Yep.
And I know you were there, so my question is,
I was.
you update us frequently about our state legislators and what they have to say. I was just curious about Monmouth County freeholders. Obviously, they're not state legislators, but you know, I'd just like to know what they know or have ever said to you about our financial condition going forward.
So they should know everything. You know, Mr. Boyce and I met with Director Arnone, the director, I want to say early May, perhaps, somewhere around thereabouts, toward the end of the school year. And we talked about we talked about the impact of the county vocational funding process that the state has us under within the larger context of our financial situation. And so, you know, they should be aware of what's happening in this district. Certainly when I put out any media alerts, Ms. Policastro will send media alerts about our financial situation to the freeholders are included in that mailing. Anything that we put out on social media, we will frequently tag them in so that they're aware of what we're also putting out. And then, as I said earlier, Mr. Boyce and I had some direct conversation with them where we're hoping for a follow-up meeting. So they you know, the county officials should be aware, you know, and not just speaking about the freeholders, I don't want to speak for them directly, but I do think that elected officials in this area are very aware of the impact of the formula. What I'm not sure statewide and even locally folks fully understand is the context of that impact and what it truly looks like now versus what folks were even talking about 6 months ago, right? So that's going to necessitate constant education, constant dialogue, and quite frankly, all of their support in altering that course.
Thank you.
Let's move on to board reports. We only have one this meeting, and that's curriculum and instruction. Mike, would you like to take that?
Sure, thank you. Earlier this evening, we had our curriculum committee report, and before getting into the meat of the meeting, I just want to point out that any of us who have teenagers know about cell phone addiction, and you know, I just want everyone to know that Ms. Howell did start off the meeting telling us about how the administration is really giving thought to students and their cell phones. As any parent with a teenager knows, there are serious addiction issues out there. And the administration is looking at some very serious research on the issue because, we say bring your device to school. And I know at the freshman orientation, this is something that parents always ask about cell phone usage and whether the students get a laptop. So this is something we have to address and we have a responsibility. So that's just by the by. But the heart of the meeting really was about the magnet programs. The class of 2024 can begin the application for the magnet programs on October 2nd. The website is updated. There's a lot more flexibility on there. And if you take a look at the website, you'll be incredibly impressed. Rebecca's working on some good write-ups for each of the magnet programs. And before you know it, on September 10th, we're going to making our first presentation at a local K through 8. We also went over the 2019 magnet program enrollment yield and attrition report. So if you look at the class of 2023, the children who were coming in as freshmen, 68% of the offerees enrolled, while 32% declined our offer of admission. There were 6 students who turned down a magnet program to enroll in IB. And if you look at all the programs, the highest amount of applicants was received at science and engineering. This report showed us for each program how many students applied, how many enrolled, and if they declined an offer, where did they actually end up enrolling? One of the other notes was that for the 5th year in a row, the business administration program accepted 2 sections of 9th graders. And when all is said and done, at the conclusion of each application season, we do survey all the families and find out why each student either accepted or declined our offer of admission. This application season, 121 students from Freehold Regional declined our offer and decided to attend the Monmouth County Vocational Schools. And this year, Monmouth County Vocational enrolled 151 freshmen from our district municipalities. And that 151 compares to our incoming freshman class, 2,794 students in the class of 2023. Lastly, we talked about intentionality tools. This is something where the administration is going to speak to the supervisors, who then in turn are going to speak to the teachers. And it's really all about support given to our teachers so that they can help the district meet our goals. For instance, a teacher would ask, where are the tools that will help me plan? Where can they find their daily objectives? Because this really all leads to our final goal of quality instruction, no matter who your teacher is. So this was just an illustration of the support that the administration gives each and every teacher. And that was what we learned about this evening.
Thank you, Mike, for your presentation, and thank you, Mrs. Howell, for informing us on all those important issues. No one signed up for public participation. And Mr. Boyce, are there any changes to the agenda that you wish to note?
There is an amendment to J7 settlement agreements. There are 2 listed on the agenda, and I would like to add the following 3. Settlement agreement number 2019-29230, settlement agreement number 2019-36900, and settlement agreement number 2019-36910. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. May I have a motion to approve G1 through K3?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Sotera, second. Second by Pete. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Sean?
Mr. Bruno?
I do have to abstain now from K1, Dr. Hanson, professional development head.
Ms. Capiello?
Yes on everything, but on K1, I abstain on Dr. Sampson and Mr. Broadman.
Mrs. Fankhauser,
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin,
Yes.
Mr. Messinger,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera,
Yes.
Mr. Esitola.
Yes. Old business. Are there any members wishing to discuss old business? Seeing none, any members wishing to discuss new business? None? Adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion by Mr. Heshi.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. What?